Mike McCool here in the Royal Examiner Studio, and with me today I have two fine gentlemen here, our proud sheriff, chief of police, and this is National Police Week. Goes May 9th, started. Around the country is talking about primarily our fallen police officers,
Yes.
our law enforcement officers. So what do we have planned for this week here in our community?
Well, Police Week. Just to go a little bit into some of the background. Police Week was started back in 1962. President Kennedy decided that May 15th was actually going to be National Police Officers Day, and then designated the entire week as National Law Enforcement Officer Week. So that's how we've come to be where we're at today. Now we do have an event this week scheduled on Thursday evening to begin at 6:30 p.m. Our supporters, we have a local group that is very supportive of law enforcement in Front Royal, Warren County. Mm-hmm. The Warren County Front Royal Back the Blue.
Back the Blue, right.
Yeah, so they've organized an event down at the gazebo, and it will begin at 6:30 p.m. and we'll have essentially a memorial service. There have actually only been, I think, 3 law enforcement officers that were killed here in Warren County, but there was a 4th that was a Warren County boy that was killed in the line of duty, a Virginia State police officer.
Right.
So
right.
we'll be recognizing their sacrifice and service. We have Front Royal police officer. It was actually a sergeant. Dennis Smedley was the first police officer killed here in Warren County, Front Royal. September 20th, 1983. He was gunned down on his way to work.
I remember that because where I live now on 8th Street, they chased people down through there thinking they had that first suspect that they tried.
Right.
But that was here.
Virginia State Police is still working the case. It's still unsolved at this time.
And somebody knows.
Right.
I always say that. Somebody knows. When more than one person knows something, it eventually comes out. I hear all the time where these cold cases are solved 20 and 30 years later, something comes up. So you got to keep them active.
Absolutely. So we have Sergeant Smedley, and then Virginia State Trooper Lee Henderson was killed. That was on St. Patrick's Day in 1986, I believe. Up on 66, he was hit by a tractor trailer while he was making a traffic stop. And then Trooper... prior to that, Pat Farrell, who was a lieutenant with the Front Royal Police Department, back in the 70s, late 70s, he was actually bitten by a suspect that he was trying to arrest and contracted bloodborne illness and ended up passing away from that illness in 1991. And then Danny Lee Williams was a Virginia State Police trooper from Front Royal. And he was killed in a car accident in 1999 in Cumberland County. So those are the 4 officers that we'll be recognizing on Thursday evening.
Well, and our communities really come together on backing the blue. Tim Radigan put that parade together over there when we did that, and it was amazing how quick and the amount of people. I think we had 129 cars in a matter of an hour or so showed up.
Right.
So it shows you there's a lot of community support for our law enforcement.
You see the signs everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
And they're, and I thought the way they did the signs were great because they really are everywhere in the county.
Right. And we got the sheriff on one side and the police on the other. So it's in fact, we're working on a new one. So
it was heartwarming to see that many people show up for that. I really wasn't expecting that, and it was a nice surprise to see that.
It does. It's nice when people appreciate what you do, regardless of your field that you are when you're serving someone. Right. It's just like a thank you every once in a while when you do something. Hold the door open for someone, they say thank you. Yeah. That's kind of small compared to the thank you that you deserve, but. But it does. You feel like, okay, feel like I'm doing something that's, because, I'm sure, as you see on the news, that some police officers, probably not in our community very often, but, they're right in their face and you're screaming and calling them every name in the book. And it takes a lot of mental fortitude to take that kind of abuse and not.
It's a tough time to be in law enforcement. That's
It
for
is.
sure.
It is. I was talking to the chief before you came in today. We are talking about recruitment of officers, and he was
hard.
telling me of all the process you go through to find the right fit for your team. And I'm sure it's the same for you as for him. It's a process.
It is. It's tough.
Finding individuals that are can make it through the academy, and then learn as they go. It takes years before you're really comfortable being on the street anyway.
Right.
And then with so much movement of people and the turnover ratio, sometimes people are getting promoted before we'd like them to get promoted, but that's the best candidate we have.
Sure.
So it's really a difficult time in law enforcement right now all across the board. But we'll get through it like we prevailed and everyone else has for years.
Well, I think that both of you have really good teams. And we have a great community, and I think that attracts people. We were talking again about the police officers, like in some of these cities out west, like Portland or Seattle, or where there's been a lot, Michigan and Minnesota and different places. It's been tough. I mean, they're almost like worse than being on an arm in a war zone almost. And I would think that was a tough situation. That.
It's
think
definitely
twice
not
before
easy.
whether do you really want to go into law enforcement? And it is. I mean, you have to have the right attitude and the reason you're doing it.
It is.
But we do want to honor our law enforcement officers. So, what do you have planned this week for your?
Well, Robbie's definitely going to be extremely busy this week.
Yeah.
But we've been very
Going to
fortunate.
get his 32 hours in this week.
Yeah, he'll definitely get his 32 hours in. Robbie works very well with everybody around, and I like the way Crystal Klein did National Night Out last year. I thought it was amazing for COVID, being in the situations we are. I'm looking for definitely our honor guard to be a good presence. We did something at the academy already. That's going. And one of the things we're hoping to in the future is combine a public safety honor guard to include the Front Royal Police Department, Fire and Rescue, and the Sheriff's Office. We think that would be a very good hit as well. But this week, our goal is in the Sheriff's Office is to reach out to the community all the time anyway. So I think it's really just continue what we're doing and get out there and speak to the community.
Well, I was telling Chief, too, that we published several articles this week in support of National Police Week, and one of them was how to speak to your kids about the police. And it was interesting take on it, and it wasn't like when we were growing up, well, I'm going to call the police on you if you don't straighten up.
Right.
That wasn't the kind of article it was. And, it's true. We have to have a conversation with our children about people in authority, our respect for our elders again. It's funny, we've been watching Leave It to Beaver on the Roku channel, right? And here's my mother, she's 91, she's watching it, and she says, "That's a really good show. Parents ought to be watching this thing." Like, I've never seen it before.
Right.
But, you don't see shows like that anymore. The moral compass that they had is completely different what you see now on TV. But there's a lot to be said for programs back when we were growing up as kids, or at least when I was growing up. I knew you guys are much younger than I am, so.
Not us. Younger than you.
You're considerably younger than I am.
It's just a matter of adapting and recognizing those generational differences and working to bridge those gaps. And we're fortunate. We're very fortunate to be where we're at and have the support of the community that we have here, because not all jurisdictions have that sort of relationship with their law enforcement, and we're very lucky to have the support, by and large, the support of all of our citizens here. Again, the event that the folks are having, because it's a dangerous job. We end up fighting budgets more than we fight crime nowadays, but it's still part of the thing.
Right.
20, depending on where you get your numbers from, there's over 23,000 law enforcement officers have been killed doing this job since its inception of law enforcement. 525 in the state of Virginia, and we've had 2 already this year. One of those was a COVID death, and of course we lost a brother officer to gunfire in the little town of Stanley, not far from here. So you always hear, well, I don't know why you do all this stuff. This is a small, quiet little town. Well, so Stanley.
Right.
And that officer was gunned down in his car, just doing his job. And that's where it really hits home. It's like, this isn't a big city problem. It's everywhere. So we're very fortunate to be living in the region that we're in and have the support of the folks that we have.
Well, I think that goes back to your community policing efforts that both of you do, that you try to involve the community in and keeping people informed.
Right.
As the press, we're always arguing, with you. Hey, when we're going to get that press release? What's happened? But really, truthfully, you both of your offices are fairly responsive with the press and with the community, and try to keep. I know this is an elected office for you, but you campaigned on the transparency, and you talk about it as well.
Right.
That I think, with the old informed minds are want to know things, and I think the more they know. In a point, the things get better, smoother. They can squelch
Right.
rumors and things like that when people have the facts. And I think that's important. This social media we have is just, there's a lot of good to it, but there's a lot of bad to it as well.
It's almost like you can't get it out fast enough.
Oh, I know. It's
but,
true.
I know some of the things that we've implemented is putting our stats out on a more regular basis, monthly, so they can see everything that we're doing instead of walking in to the lobby of the sheriff's office and then pulling the book open and see the stats. This way we're actually putting them out so we can see. And, we can actually, where we've, I think, increased ours in the sheriff's offices by getting a crime analyst so we can actually see the trends in the areas that are having issues, and we can start pulling data and then focusing our efforts to a small group, which is really what community policing was about in its inception back in the 1800s. So I think we're moving along forward, and as the chief said as well, we do have a great relationship with the communities, and there's a lot of work to be done, but we're actually moving forward. From teaching our youth, educating. I spoke with an individual who runs a driver's training school, and they're actually incorporating how to respond and speak to police officers as they come up, and asked if we would be a part of that. And of course, we're going to jump in on it.
Yeah, it's a lot different when the training has an actual police officer walk up to the window, than your instructor, right? I mean,
Right.
I would love for us to be able to somehow figure a way to show the Sims, Fast Machine, and so forth, to let actually the media or whatever come in, put yourself in that situation, what that officer sees and what's going through their mind. And it's maybe an idea that we can pull together next year's for Law Enforcement Week. That way we can put it out there and see, so that person can be put in the same situation. I think a lot of times people forget that the individuals in law enforcement go home to a wife and family, and the same as they do.
right.
And, I think that is a little bit of, well, that's your job. Yeah, everybody's got a job to do, but we still do want to go home safe,
That's
just like everybody else.
Exactly. Yeah, Robbie's scheduling me a ride-about.
Right along?
Right along, that's what it is. So I've kind of been dragging my feet. But we're going to get that, and kind of, again, like what you said, when you see it in a different perspective. I know being in a lot of different positions on boards and things, and when people come to you and complaining about things, but when you're sitting on the other side and you have a lot more information to make your decision on, it's a lot different, and same as in your job as well,
It all comes down to perception, and that's what we teach our young officers, because it's all about perception, not just the public's perception of you, but also what you're perceiving to be going on with the public. Because, I mean, if we're being honest, most of the time the public is not seeing us on their best day. If we get called to their house, usually not their best day, right?
No.
And that's the thing. Regardless of what you're going through as a law enforcement officer, perhaps you've had a bad day.
Right.
Didn't get off on, got out of bed on the wrong side. Maybe,
Right.
kids were
Coffee was cold.
Right, trying to get the kids off to school. They're can't find their books and late getting out there.
As a 16-year-old, yeah, right.
Exactly. You
As
show up
teenagers.
on that call, and maybe you're not in the best of moods, but the person that is there that you're dealing with, and it's the same kind of call that we've dealt with 7 million times.
Right.
But it's the biggest thing in that person's world right now. And you have to be able to take off your stuff and look at the situation through their perception, and ground your response in that. And that's our folks do it every day, and it's not an easy thing to do. And my hat's off to every one of the men and women that work law enforcement in this area to actually make that happen and do it, because it is a tough job, and it's nice to be able to have these types of events, to be able to
Let your hair down?
well, if I had
You wanted to say that.
I did. I was like,
He's been holding on that.
Hold
on
that
that.
back.
But it is a neat time to be able to obviously remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice, and have a little put a little pep in the step of the guys and girls that are going out here and doing this job every day.
Well, I've had a lot of conversation with your officers, and just meeting them on the, when they're sitting in their car, or talk to them. And I've never had a bad experience or where someone didn't take the time to engage the conversation, and you could tell they were sincere in what they were doing. So, which is a good thing. I think it didn't blow you off, and I'm too busy to talk to you. They were always friendly, and we see them at the events, on their bicycles, things like that. But they're involved, and it's like they want to be there. Right. So it's a good sign. I think it's really good. I don't know of anyone that's come across our desk that's been negative. And just surprisingly, we get quite a few positive responses from the community about their dealings they've had with the law enforcement in our community. So,
I think the both of us are very fortunate of the level of professionalism that we have in our departments. And moving forward, if we can continue that, moving it into the community and mentoring more as much as possible, I think we can build off of a solid foundation that the chief actually mentioned earlier, that we are very lucky.
Well, it does trickle down from upper management, and if the top doesn't care, it gets down to the bottom. So you can see that whatever you're doing, keep doing it, because it seems to be working, and we want to keep that up. I want to remind everyone about the event that's Thursday evening at 6:30 p.m. at the gazebo.
6:30.
It's to honor our fallen police officers. And This is National Police Week, so
I think we'll have chairs down there for the families, but if you want to come, bring your own chair so you can be comfortable. But
that's
the keynote. I think the keynote we'll have the placing of the colors will be done ahead of time, because we're working a joint honor guard. And with our staffing levels, they're going to do all the colors will be placed ahead of time. But all of our chaplains will be there to send up the good word. Keynote speaker will be the Virginia FOP president. He'll be delivering the keynote address. So we look forward to everybody coming out and spending some time and recognizing our fallen heroes. And being able to kind of meet and greet and speak with everybody that shows
great.
up. Yeah.
We did want to mention on your color guard, they're always leading the parades that we have here, and they're sharp.
Yeah.
You can tell, and I think that's a good idea if you could incorporate the police and the first responders into that, because that would really set a nice, not taking anything from the sheriff's office, but I would think that would show a community support, or a brand that we're working together on things, and
well, I've already talked with Chief
if you could
Manzano.
find enough of them in the police department, that would could pass your mustard, be all right.
Well, we're very fortunate. The sheriff's office, and Chief knows this, we have some old guards that actually help in our honor guard.
Yeah.
And I've already talked to Chief Manzano from fire, and he was actually big on it as well. So once we actually get it together, we can really, I think, have a really professional, dedicated honor guard.
And it's not just showing up at the last minute, carrying the flag down the road. There's a lot of work in it.
There's a lot of
They
work.
train hard. They train
a
very
lot
hard.
and they look sharp.
They do.
They do look sharp.
do.
The video. So there's a video that was done at the academy. Typically, we would have the law enforcement memorial at the academy this week in
Right.
person. Of course, because of COVID, that's not possible. So all of our honor guards were over there participating in that. And there's a video. I think it dropped today.
Yeah.
So it should be available on the Facebook pages and things
We'll
like
get that. We'll get that.
and
put
take a
that
look.
into-
Yeah, and all of our honor guards are on there.
Oh, good, good.
As well as some
We'll
of the
share
other
that.
areas. Yeah.
Again, I want to thank you again for coming in. I know it's a busy
Anytime.
day. I'm
Absolutely.
glad you're able to squeeze it in here in the afternoon. But we do want to, mention about our event on Thursday evening at 6:30 at the gazebo. So please come down, honor our law enforcement officers in our community and in our state as well. Again, thanks again, gentlemen. I really appreciate you
Always,
coming in.
Mike.
Absolutely.
Thank you.